Yeah, this is one of the really interesting things that sets them apart from the ETFs. When the ETFs launched, a lot of people thought that was the end of the show for MicroStrategy, particularly the end of the show for having any type of a premium to net asset value. And they've turned out to be very wrong about that so far, right? We have huge amount of inflows that have gone into these ETFs, and what we haven't seen is any compression in MicroStrategy. And what makes them very different in a lot of ways is that they've got these different things that can happen with passive flows from these index funds that an ETF will never get, right? First, ETFs can't interact with the capital markets the same way that MicroStrategy can, that gives them the flexibility to do the strategy that they're doing. So you'll never accrete more value per share in an ETF. But MicroStrategy has different flexibility. So the one that's coming up now, which is one of the big ones, is the NASDAQ 100.
Welcome back to the channel. Aaron here from the Bitcoin Bros. If you are new, make sure to like and subscribe. We have new Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, crypto videos coming out every single day. That was Ben Workman talking about how the ETFs, when they launched, everybody thought that MicroStrategy stock wasn't going to do so well because all of the Bitcoin flows will be going to the ETFs. And in today's clip, he's going to be talking about how and when MicroStrategy is going to be included in the NASDAQ 100 and what that means for MicroStrategy, how much money will flow in because of that. So stay tuned for all that information. But as you can see here, as of the recording of this video, MicroStrategy has around a $42 billion market cap, making it the 76th biggest company in the new NASDAQ 100 tracker. To make that list, we have to be in the top 75 by a specific date that Ben will mention in today's clip. Make sure to watch this one to the end. A lot of useful information in today's video, but this could be really huge for MicroStrategy, especially if you see it get added into the NASDAQ and then the S&P next. So let's go ahead and just play the clip. Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. Let us know what you guys think. Let's go ahead and check it out here.
And the NASDAQ 100, out of all of these index funds that are out there, they have a pretty straightforward methodology to what they're looking at. And for simplicity, it's basically down to your market cap, right? You just have to be a non-financial company trading on the NASDAQ. And then they start looking at the market caps and they start ranking them. And there's some nuance out there to, foreign companies that are selling shares on the NASDAQ through a depository receipt, but that doesn't apply to MicroStrategy, so we won't go through that part of the methodology. But essentially what you're looking at, if you're not in the NASDAQ 100 today, if you're a non-incumbent, you've really got to force your way in. And the way you do that is by becoming one of the top 75 companies in market cap in the NASDAQ, right? The non-financial NASDAQ. And MicroStrategy is currently sitting in that just out place, right? If I was ranking them, they're at 102 at the moment, but they've got to jump up to that 75th place. And so their market cap's been closing right around 38 billion, and that target has been right around 43 to 43.2 billion is where the 75th place company has been. So what you're watching as it goes on, and these are the posts that I've been putting out kind of every day showing where they're landing in kind of that forced rank, is we're looking for them to make that impulse move to get up above whatever that level is. I mean, we have to recognize that those other companies are changing in value regularly too. So you'd rather smash your way into the NASDAQ 100 than just get in, because there's a lot of variability out there. You don't control what's happening with these other stocks. And so currently they're sitting just out. But we've seen, trading intraday, when they did that peak the other day in the mid 220s, that would have put them in. Right. Mm-hmm. So they've shown these flashes of the expansion of their market cap that would put them in that place. And it's important to note, because people, when they look at MicroStrategy, they have two classes of stock, right? They have the Class A shares, they have the Class B shares. NASDAQ's not going to include the Class B shares because they're not publicly traded, right? Those are all owned by Saylor, and somebody owns a small amount of them, but I don't know who owns the rest of them. So, but because those Class B are not publicly available, those won't count in their methodology. So that's why there's some discrepancies out there when I say they're trading at 37 or 38 billion. Other people might see that they're trading at, 42 billion. So that's really what we're looking at. And the snapshot date that's important here is November 29. That's when the NASDAQ is going to go out, and they're going to close on the 29th, and they're going to lock in place what your market cap is for all these companies. And then they're going to go through their methodology. And so they're going to look at what are the top 75, right? And those top 75, they're going to get in. But then there's some leeway for some of the incumbents. For instance, if you were in the NASDAQ 100 today, but now you would rank at 120th, you actually get to stay in.
Hmm.
So they keep you in there, but you get 1 year of grace period for that. So then if the following year you still were outside of the 100, now you don't get in that year. So you get a 1 year grace period. So there's a couple instances where that's at play right now, but it's the reason why MicroStrategy can have a higher market cap than the 100th ranked company, which is somewhere in the 20 billions, right? 23, 24, somewhere in there. So they have a much bigger market cap than them, but those companies get to stay in. And right now, MicroStrategy wouldn't. So that's the nuance that goes with the NASDAQ 100 in terms of getting into the index. Now, what comes with getting in the index is the exciting part, right? Index funds, right? The QQQ and some of these other funds that are tied to the NASDAQ 100, the beauty of those is they're buyers at any price, right? They don't
Mhm.
care what the multiple to net asset value, it doesn't matter. They get a weighting based on their market cap within the index, and then they get funds allocated based on their weighting. And so right now, if MicroStrategy was just to make it in, right, if they got that 75th slot, they'd be looking from probably the top three NASDAQ 100 funds at getting somewhere between 550 million or yeah, 550 million to 600 million of funds coming in to buy up their shares, right? To put in all these other index funds that are out there. You've got to really get up to about the top 50 before you're getting $1 billion. And I think that the market cap required to get to the top 50 is right around $1 billion or $77 billion to get into that top 50. So the further up the list you climb, the more money is going to be allocated. And so NASDAQ's going to announce the new companies that are in, all the changes on December, it's 12 or 13. I'm forgetting the date right now. It's 12 or 13. And then the money is actually going to be moved into place by the 20th.
Mm.
So those are kind of those key dates that you're looking for with NASDAQ to see, and I believe it's the 13th. So you're looking for these key dates that they're going to make that announcement, and you're going to start to see, do these passive flows come in? And NASDAQ's not the only index fund out there, right? You benefit in a lot of funds from having a growing market cap, and there's several funds that MicroStrategy's already in that would give them a higher weighting. So as your company grows and as Bitcoin grows, you start to see more passive money coming into the stock, which can do some pretty crazy things to share prices, as we've seen with companies like Tesla or Rivian or any of these companies that have gotten into some of these big index funds. So NASDAQ's kind of the one that's on everyone's mind right now because that one's coming up soon. You've obviously got the gold standard, which is the S&P 500, but that's a whole different conversation out there. So that's one that we'll keep an eye on. I post on it every day just to track where I think they are based on the methodology that NASDAQ's put out. And then hopefully we'll see them enter that index and we'll see what those passive flows really do.